All right, folks, I need you all to stop what you're doing and listen up. You know I love this time of the year. The NBA season is in full swing, and with all this action going on, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you take advantage of it all. That's why we've partnered with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code SAS and download the app now. Again, download the app and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Hey, run your game. Today, I'll give you my picks for tonight's game between my beloved New York Knicks and, of course, the Sacramento Kings. So let's get to it. First up, will Karl-Anthony Towns score more or less than 26.5 points for the Knicks? I'm going with more because there's no Jalen Brunson. He's one of your top two offensive options. He's in the lineup. Brunson is out, and as a result, the Knicks are going to have to rely on him more because Sacramento can't put up points. The New York Knicks are going to have to score points to win this game, which means they're going to have to go to Karl-Anthony Towns often. He's going to score more than 26.5 points unless he's resembling a construction worker and he's laying bricks. That's the only way he's not scoring more than 26.5 points in this particular game. Next up, will the New York Knicks' Mikal Bridges score more or less than 18 points? I'm going with more as well because he's going to have free reign to shoot the ball. He's got a little accuracy to him. He's going to score some points. I think he's going to score more in this game against Sacramento as well. Needless to say, we got to get the Sacramento Kings guard/forward, DeMar DeRozan. Will he score more or less than 23.5 points? Mr. Mid-Range himself, who is an offensive powerhouse when he wants to be, going up against a New York Knicks team whose defense is suspect to say the least. I definitely think he's going to score more than 23.5 points. And finally, will the Sacramento Kings' Zach LaVine score more or less than 22.5 points? Boy, do I hope this brother comes back in the slam dunk contest. He'll put on a show. But for now, he's going against my New York Knicks. And I think, again, because of the New York Knicks' suspect defense, particularly against three-point shooters, and he can hit some threes, I definitely see him scoring more than 22.5 points as well. So that's it. More for Karl-Anthony Towns, more for Mikal Bridges, more for DeMar DeRozan, and more for Zach LaVine. It's more, 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 more. We love that word when it comes to Prize Picks because when we think more, we're talking about money in our pockets. Some NFL news percolating over the weekend, and of course, a couple of thrilling NBA games that I certainly am going to touch on because it can manipulate standings and playoff seedings in the NBA playoffs. I'll get into all of that. But that's after I address more of Mr. LeBron James and what we got into. I had a weekend to sleep on some things. I got a lot of shit on my mind. Stephen A. Smith Show in the house. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Appreciate all the love and support from subscribers out there. To get notified for all of our newest content, just click the bell and you too shall be considered the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. Let's get started in the NBA where the top two teams in the East and the West are solidified. But which finals matchup should fans want to see? I'll get into all of that a little bit later. After starting off with where I really want to start up, which is with a follow-up of what happened last Thursday night in Los Angeles when LeBron James confronted me about his son, Bronny. I spoke about it last Friday on First Take and right here on this podcast as well. And obviously that made a lot of news because he approached me, surprisingly, and what have you, and it took off from there. Just to remind everybody of what transpired, I was sitting courtside. I was a guest of Ari Emanuel for William Morris Endeavor, the agency that represents me, one of the agencies that represents me, of course, and he was with Larry David, the actor and producer from Curb Your Enthusiasm. We were all sitting together. I was standing up. It was the third quarter. Out of a timeout, LeBron James rolled over on me and basically started speaking to me, getting in my face about stop effing with my son. That's my effing son. Stop effing with my son. And that was about the size of it. He didn't give me much of a chance to speak, to respond. You heard me last week allude to this on several occasions where I said that wasn't a basketball player approaching me. That was a father. That was a father protecting his son. And that I understood it. It's a few days later. My position has not changed in that regard. I do understand that. I truly, truly do. But what I said at that particular moment in time, which was this past Friday, was that had I had an opportunity to speak to LeBron, if the environment was conducive to that, not in the middle of a game, standing on the sideline, where my only recourse would be to make a scene by retaliating while a national audience was watching on TNT, sitting courtside just a few feet away from the Lakers bench. I was not going to do that, ladies and gentlemen. Forget the fact, or should it, wait, maybe we should or shouldn't forget the fact, that's up to you, but it was on the day where I was all over the news because news had percolated that I had reached a new contract extension with ESPN. It was that day, but that's neither here nor there. When that stuff happened, what I was going to say to LeBron James, which would have clearly made the situation worse, is what I said on national television Friday morning when I spoke about it on First Take on ESPN, and in the aftermath right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I said that when I brought up Bronny James and I was speaking about him, the incident that clearly infuriated LeBron James so much, I wasn't talking about Bronny James. I was talking about you, LeBron James. And what threw me off was that LeBron James kept saying, stop shitting on my son. That's my effing son. That's my effing son. Stop shitting on my son. And that bothered me all weekend long because I was trying to figure out, when was I shitting on his son? And that's why I decided to come back and revisit this today, because something happened over the weekend that seemed fairly innocuous to you all, but not to me. And I want you to see this clip right here and to see what they're saying. This is LeBron James talking to my ESPN and ABC colleague, Richard Jefferson, his former teammate. They won a championship together in Cleveland. Richard Jefferson now works for ESPN and ABC calling games, and LeBron was speaking to him prior to the game against Boston, in Boston, on Saturday night. And I would like you all to take a look at this and to see what they're saying LeBron said to Richard Jefferson. Take a look. So y'all saw that. So he was saying that what set him off is me saying, I'm pleading with you as a father. Ladies and gentlemen, he's alluding to what I said on January 29th, first on First Take, but now on here, on this show, the Stephen A. Smith Show, the same day. I addressed the topics on both platforms. Here's what I said on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Play this, please. With LeBron, the best of intentions. Wonderful father by all accounts. I'm not casting any aspersions on him. I'm saying, that's your son, bro. You know the game of basketball. He ain't ready yet. Why put him in that position? You had your moment being on the court with him. Now that kid's got to go earn his stripes, which I believe he will do, watching him in the G League. You can't do this. You can't continue to let us see what we've been seeing. And I'm wrong. I'm questioning him as a father because I'm saying, yo, wrap your arms around him and say, not now, not just yet. That's questioning somebody's fatherhood. There you have it. That's what LeBron James was talking about. And on First Take that morning, I was saying, I'm pleading with LeBron James. Stop it. Stop this. Yet the LeBron James that approached me said I was shitting on his son. I'm perplexed at the moment because I don't believe I've ever done that. Had he said, you shitting on me and you talking about me as a father, I would have known exactly what he was talking about. And maybe it's best in the moment that I didn't recall that. I couldn't decipher what he was saying. Because I might have said what I was tempted to say. I was talking about you. We sit here more than a month later. I stand by what I said, just like I said on television Friday. Why do I stand on what I said? Why do I stand by what I said? Because it's important that all of you know the back history as it pertains to me. Now we're going to get a little deep. When Bronny James was in high school, I never went to see him play on purpose. I hinted at potentially going over to Sierra Canyon and watching him play, but I never went. And when I spoke about it on the air, I said, the kid, from what I'm being told, has potential. But we all know how great his father is. And we all know what a figure his father is, not just as a player, but in some people's eyes as an activist, and in some people's eyes, in a variety of other ways that can serve to not just galvanize, but polarize certain communities in this country. Folks are looking for an excuse. If I walk into an arena because I'm Stephen A., and to watch a basketball player that is the son of LeBron James, I know that from the moment I depart from there, everyone wants a critique about his game, and I did not want to do that. So I never went and watched him play in high school out of respect and deference to the James family. He goes to college. He suffers the heart ailment. I mean, my God, it scared the living hell out of us when we all heard the news that for a couple of seconds, he wasn't responsive. You're like, oh my God, we hope he's okay. And I said, to recover from that, you can't judge him on what you see his first year in college because he's not 100% healthy. That's not fair to him because he's LeBron James' son and you're inviting additional scrutiny. So I never went to USC. I'm out here in LA all the time. I'm here now. I've had opportunities to go to USC to watch Bronny James play, but I didn't think it would be fair to him and to LeBron James. So I never went. Then he's entering the draft instead of staying in school. And when he decided to enter the draft, and you had people speculating about what he wasn't, it was a colleague of mine by the name of Kendrick Perkins who went on national television as a former All-American with LeBron James in the 2003 All-American class, if I remember correctly, who said in front of the cameras on the record, we've never seen a 14-year-old be named a McDonald's All-American, bringing into question the legitimacy of Bronny James being an All-American. I didn't touch it. He gets drafted. But even while he got drafted, we were told Golden State might have been interested, Phoenix might have been interested, the Clippers were interested, Boston might have been interested, but were dissuaded from grabbing him because LeBron James and Rich Paul and Clutch Sports and those guys have made it very, very clear he's going to be a Laker. And they honored those wishes. We didn't say anything about that. Opening night, father and son, Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Sr. in attendance. Us who cover the league knows that people were going to question the merit, which means that the league would be reluctant to embrace this, that the Lakers, the most storied franchise in basketball annals outside of the Boston Celtics, would be reluctant to embrace it, but everybody did. And so did the media. So did I. I was in attendance, I was standing up, and I was clapping just like everybody else when he entered the game. And then ultimately the games were played. And all I said was, he's doing great in the G League, but on this level, he's not ready yet for a variety of reasons. Don't do this. Why did I say as a father? If it were a Kenyon Martin and his son, I wouldn't have said that. If it were a Carmelo Anthony and his son, I would not have said that. If it was a Glenn Big Dog Robinson and his son, I would not have said that. If it was Rick Barry and one of his sons, I would not have said that. I would not have said that about any of those folks because none of those folks had made headlines promoting their child to be in the NBA as a player or a star in the league. This son just came in here. Tim Hardaway, let me not forget him. Senior and junior. That didn't happen. Those dudes played and performed and positioned themselves to be in that situation. That wasn't the case here. So for those, including LeBron, that were caught up in me saying, as a father, I'm saying, as a father, you said, I want to play with my son in the NBA. You said, I don't care if you want me draft Bronny. At this point, it's not about the money. I don't care where it is. I'll play there. I just want to have a year with my son. It was you that said, despite high school, despite the heart ailment, he's better than some of the players in the league. So when I was saying, as a dad, don't do it, I wasn't just talking about Bronny, the player. I was talking about the dad saying the things that he was saying that was only adding pressure to the son. That's what I was doing. So I've never, ever, ever been about being critical of Bronny. I've gone out of my way, being who I am in the position that I am in, to avoid even critiquing him for years out of respect for the James family. Rich Paul knows that. Adam Medelson knows that. Maverick Carter knows that. Opposing agents and players, former and present, who would ask me why I wouldn't do it, know my position. It was on the record. There's clips of it on First Take. That was my position. So when he said to me, stop shitting on my son, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? But then something happened. Something happened. And a light bulb hit my ear. And that was him with Richard Jefferson. I'll get to that in a second, but after a word from Prize Picks. All right, everybody, listen up. With all the big-time sports action that's happening each and every day, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you are taking advantage of it all. That's why we've partnered with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is really easy to use. To make a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats. Choose from any of your favorite players, Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler, and Zach LaVine, all in the same entry. Then sit back and watch. The list is absolutely endless. You can play Prize Picks in over 40 states, including California and Texas. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50. Just use promo code SAS and download Prize Picks right now. Again, download the app and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. LeBron James with Richard Jefferson. You saw the video. So when he sat up there and said, when I'm talking as a dad, right? That's the only thing. That's the only thing I'm tripping. I don't give a F. Once he talks about you I plead as a father, I can't. So it wasn't about Bronny. It was about him. Those are his words. Once he said, as a father, that was about him. Which was my point January 29th. It's been about you. I don't want to have a critical word about Bronny James at this stage of his career. And I completely agree with LeBron's agent and the head of Clutch Sports, Rich Paul. We don't always agree. As a matter of fact, most of the time we don't agree at all, but we talk, and I respect the hell out of him. And he made very valid points, and I want to emphasize, Rich is just class. And I got a lot of love for Rich because he's decent at his core, and he's going to call you and talk to you man to man. He would have never did what LeBron James did Thursday night. He never would have done that. But that's neither here nor there. But Rich Paul made a point that Bronny should be contextualized and presented better. I agree with him on that. There's plenty of dudes in the NBA and who have been in the NBA over the years that have been drafted in the second round who struggle initially before getting their bearings under them and ultimately elevating their level of play. He is absolutely right. The reason why it's different for Bronny as opposed to others is because he's LeBron James' son. The NIL deals, the 4-year, $8 million contract, all of these other things that come with it that doesn't happen for the average 55th pick overall in the second round of an NBA draft. The fact of the matter is that there's plenty of dudes that have come in the second round, and it takes them a couple of years, in some cases longer, to get their bearings under them. He is absolutely right. But having said all of that, that again buffers my point. It was never about Bronny. I wouldn't do that to a kid. It was about his dad. And it wasn't about his dad even wanting him in the NBA. It's the things he said and the things he maneuvered and manipulated in order to get his son to wear the same uniform as him, which brought that attention. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I want to get into a conversation about me because of how some folks have been attacking me. Not over this, but using this as an excuse to accuse me of hating on the brothers. I'm sick of that shit. I'm not backing up from that anymore. I'm not taking it from people anymore. I'm not just a black man. I'm a brother. I'm not going to take this shit from people anymore. I'm going on Gilbert Arenas' podcast tomorrow. Gil's Arena. With Rashad McCants, with Kenyon Martin, Swaggy P, Nick Young and the crew. I can't wait. I can't wait for that conversation. I'm not taking this shit no more from people. I've had it with this. Because it's incidents like this that people try to piggyback off of. And they try to use it as an excuse to talk about me, hating on brothers. Me, the brother who is the ambassador for HBCU Week, that's generated millions in scholarship dollars for thousands of kids. Me, who's helped diversify ESPN with the opportunities as executive producer of First Take, black folks, men and women period, white as well, any minority you can find. Me, who has worked in this business for 30 years. Think about what I know. Think about what I've seen. Think about how much incriminating stuff that I could say. Think about how many incriminating facts I have. And I'm talking about the game. But literally, these brothers act like if this were boxing and a black dude knocked another black dude out, and I talked about the black dude that got knocked out, it's black on black crime. But the brother that knocked him out, you're just going to ignore the praise I gave him. Gervonta Davis fights Lamont Roach last week. It was a majority draw because he took a knee. If the ref had counted that, Gervonta Davis should have lost the fight. Me saying that means I'm hating on a brother? What the hell has this world come to? But this is the stuff that I'm being subjected to. I'm not taking it anymore. I see players, I ain't gonna even mention their names right now. I got plenty of time to do that. But LeBron is one of them. A week before he confronted me, remember he said, watching somebody be the face of the league, well, all these dudes do is go on the air in the mornings and shit on players. He was talking about me. Why? Because I got you number 2 all time? I think LeBron James is the greatest player in the history of man outside of Michael Jordan. I don't have him as number 1. Great father, great husband, great actor, great businessman, great family man, great philanthropist, great producer. What haven't I said? 4-time champion, 4-time league MVP. All-time leading scorer in NBA history right now. Surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. What have I not said? Come on, man. But they've been talking. These players, some of them, not most, not all, but a few. You know what they've been trying to do, right? In my opinion, what they've been trying to do is accuse me of selling out for the purposes of making it difficult for me to walk the streets as a black man amongst my peoples. Treating me like I'm not down. And I got to come on here on a public platform and speak about the challenges and the trials and tribulations that I have had to endure to help us, just because I'm critiquing your game. And too many of y'all have allowed them to get away with it. That's the real story here. Because LeBron told Richard Jefferson, and by virtue of doing that, told all of y'all, it wasn't about his son. It was about him. Because I said, as a father. But you're going to forget the quotes you gave. You're going to forget how you were bloviating about him. You're going to forget the fact that I said before he ever played the game, don't do that because you're bringing more attention on him, which means he's going to be more heavily scrutinized. And then you're going to get mad at us for pointing out what you were saying. But we forget that. We forget that. Maybe, just maybe, y'all tired of listening to me. I got somebody I want you to listen to instead of me, just for a couple of minutes, right after you hear this. This message is brought to you by Cologuard, a non-invasive colon cancer screening test. So I want to talk about colon cancer screening for a second here. I know you might hear that and instantly feel a bunch of dread. You're thinking stuff like drinking all of that prep liquid, having an invasive procedure, missing work. No thanks. But hold on a second, because there's another option that allows you to skip all that drama, the Cologuard test. It's a one-of-a-kind way to feel more in control of your colon cancer screening through a prescription-based test with none of the prep that's required of a colonoscopy. The Cologuard test is the only FDA-approved, non-invasive option that looks for both altered DNA and blood in your stool, which can indicate the presence of abnormal cells. This test offers convenience and ease of use, and it's delivered right to your door. It's also affordable. Most insured patients pay $0. At this point, come on, don't let your health take a backseat. You're out of excuses. So if you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a Cologuard prescription today at Cologuard.com/podcast. The Cologuard test is intended to screen adults 45 and older at average risk for colorectal cancer. Do not use a Cologuard test if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease, and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colorectal cancer. The Cologuard test is not a replacement for colonoscopies in high-risk patients. Cologuard test performance in adults ages 45 to 49 is estimated based on a large clinical study of patients 50 and older. False positives and false negatives can occur. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Welcome back. Ryan Clark from The Pivot. Told y'all I needed y'all to hear from somebody for a couple of minutes, right? Well, guess what? He weighed in on the incident. Now, Ryan Clark does Monday Night Football for ESPN, does First Take, does Get Up. It's my brother. That's my dog. Love him to death. You understand? He disagrees with me from time to time, but it's rare. That's my man. He has a son who played defensive back for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Listen to what Ryan Clark had to say today on the Pivot podcast about this very incident we're talking about. Listen up.
The first thing Jordan told me when he saw that, because we were together, he said, "Pop, I lose my shit." He said, if I did that, if someone was talking about him and I did what LeBron James did, he would lose it. He said, you got to let me be a man. And I've done that with Jordan in high school. I've done that with Jordan in college. And I'm not saying that he's where LeBron is, but LeBron did what he needed to do. But what about Bronny James? Think about what LeBron is saying, right? And I agree with this. Bronny James, for a 55th overall pick, for a guy who's played well in the G League and been on the bench and got, some minutes in the NBA, he is more negatively critiqued and analyzed than any player who would be picked in that position that does the job the way that he does it. But he's also praised more. He's also been drafted in a place that his resume probably didn't say he should have been drafted in. He's also benefited in NIL when he only averaged 4 points a game. He has marketing and commercials and publicity and followings and get paid away from the court more than Mac McClung, who then led the G League in scoring and won the dunk contest 3 times because you're LeBron James's son. So what does it do to that narrative now? Right? How does LeBron running up on Stephen A help the narrative? It doesn't. Because the narrative was he's there because of you. He was drafted in the place he wasn't supposed to be because of you. Now, all of a sudden, we can't talk about him either. Now, imagine if LeVar Ball runs up on Stephen A. Imagine if T. Morant runs up on Stephen A. How classless we would say they are. How immature we would say they are. LeBron James is a father doing the same thing for a professional basketball player. And I get it. I 100% get it, man. Sometimes somebody does something and it's on site. Stephen A. say, why you didn't call me? Mav got my number, right? He say, Rich got my number. Because LeBron James saw him and LeBron James wanted to make that point. He wanted to show the world. He wanted to show Stephen A. And he probably wanted to show Bronny, bro, I got you. And I'll do it publicly so everybody sees it. The problem is this. You ain't run up on Skip all them years he was talking about you. You ain't run up on everybody else all that time he was talking about you. And you going to run up on everybody that says Bronny James didn't deserve to be drafted where he was drafted at. You're going to have to do a whole lot of damn fighting. LeBron James, more than any athlete I've ever seen, has shown a poise and composure when people are talking about him negatively like I've never seen. He's truly been an example to every athlete in the world who's harshly critiqued, to his son. But now what you've told your son is, even though I wasn't above reproach, even though no athlete that's ever played the game was above criticism, you are. And I showed you that by checking somebody because I felt like they talked about you. And that's, to me, where you got to separate father and you got to separate teammate. Because now, if I'm Bronny James, I know my dad loves me, right? But I hope, because LeBron James is a great dad, that he asks Bronny, are you okay with this? Because this is going to reflect on you more than it's going to reflect on me.
Absolutely brilliant commentary by Ryan Clark. Let me encapsulate, in my way, what he was saying. It's a worse reflection on Bronny. LeBron rolling up on me like that potentially hurts Bronny. I'm sure that wasn't his intent. But nevertheless, look at how people are talking about Bronny now. They weren't talking about him over the last few weeks. So we got that going on. Then we got the other part going on that Ryan brought up. He wouldn't run up on somebody like Skip, whatever, and I'm good with that. I want to make sure that folks understand something. And I will never forget it years ago. Mike Tyson was saying this, and he was doing it during an interview with ESPN's Jeremy Schaap. And Jeremy Schaap asked him, I don't recall the wording of the question, but he asked him essentially about how he might roll up on certain reporters or how he feels about them, particularly if they're black compared to white. And Mike Tyson said, nah, you are who you are. He said, it's just that with you, pointing to the brother, he said, you should know better. And the reason that I bring that up is that one of the things that's almost never talked about is the expectations, particularly from reporters who are black, that, we supposed to know better. Perhaps that's the case. But when do we get to do our jobs? When you look at today's modern athlete and they want to call folks sellouts, and this is the only reason I'm bringing up the racial element is because cats come at us and they like Stephen A. or somebody else always shitting on the brothers. I'm on the air 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week live. That's just for First Take. It doesn't include Sports Center. It doesn't include NBA Countdown. It doesn't include frequent appearances on Get Up. It doesn't include this podcast. It doesn't include the inordinate amount of appearances that I make throughout the year beyond the world of sports. You can make a legitimate case that I am on the air more than anyone in this country. You can make that argument. I can speak 95, 98% of the times positively. The crime is not that the 2 to 5% of the times I might speak negatively that you have a problem with it. It's that these folks today have been allowed to use that 2 to 5% of the time to accuse me of hating and selling out my own. To the point where it's supposed to be difficult for me to do my job. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to call it like I see it. There's going to be compassion involved. There's going to be tendencies of humanity involved. It's going to be all of that. But the one thing you can rest assured is I'm going to always do my job. And when it came to this particular incident with LeBron James, as I see him talking and talking and talking, the one thing that I asked Rich Paul for, give me grace on this one thing, Rich. If LeBron said to you, he is irate, he is pissed, he wants to see Stephen A. face to face, man to man, and you picked up the phone, Rich, and you called me and you said, LeBron James wants to see me, what would I have said? Rich Paul said you would have hung up the phone and you would have been on the next flight to LA. That is exactly true. That is exactly true. But LeBron James didn't do that because he didn't want to. Because we don't have a relationship. Because I'm not about calling it like he wants me to see it. I'm about calling it like I see it. That is the way that I have been. That is the way that I am. And that is the way that I'm always going to be. This image of him towering over me and, oh, Stephen A. is shook or whatever. What was he going to do, ladies and gentlemen? Hit me while I'm standing courtside with the national cameras rolling? That wasn't going to happen. I was taken aback by this notion that I was, quote unquote, shitting on his son. I did no such thing. I did no such thing. And I wouldn't. Because I'm the one that's been on the record stating for years that young brother's got an uphill climb. Not just because he's LeBron James' son, but because of the position LeBron James put him in by talking the way that he talked. Nobody else other than LeVar Ball was seen as a parent talking like that about their son's potential. But Lonzo was at UCLA as a starting point guard who was projected to be a top 5 lottery pick that ended up going number 2 overall to the Los Angeles Lakers. There's a difference between that and what Bronny James was walking into. And it's one thing for the greatness of LeBron James to make it tough. It's another thing entirely for his talking about Bronny James to make it tougher. That's the only reason why I said, as a father, had he not said that or any of those things and his son just came into the league, I never would have said that. I said it because he said, as a dad, I want to play with my son in the NBA. He said, I think my son is better than some of the folks in the NBA right now. And go back and watch the tapes. You'll see me saying, please don't do this. No, 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 no. Before he ever arrived, I said, because they're going to hold on to these quotes, which they did. And in the end, all those people who were saying this stuff get to walk inside and outside the crypto.com arena or whatever other arena LeBron James is in. I show up, and I'm the one that gets confronted for simply echoing what many, many people were saying. Not about Bronny, about LeBron. But as the saying goes, I guess that's the price of being Stephen A. I accept it. I've paid it. And I'm going to pay it again and again and again. Not just with LeBron James, but with anybody that comes down the pike. Be respectful. Be humane. Don't be disrespectful. Don't overstep lines. But within the confines of my job, call it like I see it and believe it is. That is what I get paid to do. That is what I will always do. And if that means in the process, LeBron and I never, ever, ever speak to one another again in life, I'm good with it. Totally. As I'm sure he is. Coming up, the Celtics versus the Thunder for the title, or the Cavaliers versus LeBron James and the Lakers in the NBA Finals. Which matchup should fans want to see? That and a couple of other options I got for you up next. But first, the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf, so now what are they going to do at the quarterback position to keep up with the rest of the AFC North? We'll get into all of that next, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Let's get into the NFL free agent signing period that began today, all right? Well, a number of agreements for stars to remain with their teams over the weekend. Some of them you can see right here. But I want to address three moves in particular that caught my attention. We'll begin in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers traded for wideout DK Metcalf and agreed to a 5-year, $150 million extension. Metcalf will presumably be paired with fellow wideout George Pickens, who's eligible for an extension this offseason as he enters the last year of his rookie deal. Now the question is, who will be throwing them the football? Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers? Both could be viable options for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would tell you, if you got to choose between the two, ladies and gentlemen, you choose Russell Wilson. I'm not saying he's better than Aaron Rodgers, because I still think Aaron Rodgers, even though he's not that bad man that he used to be, the brother threw 28 touchdowns, just 11 interceptions, passed for nearly 4,000 yards with the New York Jets last year. Yes, they did lose 6 games, 6 fourth-quarter leads. No doubt about that. 7 one-score games. No doubt about that. Aaron Rodgers can ball. I understand who he is, what he brings to the table. Here's the flip side. Russell Wilson played a few years with DK Metcalf. There's a familiarity there from their days in Seattle. And because of that, I think that goes a long way towards the Pittsburgh Steelers deciding to keep Russell Wilson in tow. Now, he's going to cost a pretty penny, and that's where it could be a bit problematic because he's going to want his money. So his market value could be anywhere from $37 to $40 million for all we know, if not more. And I don't know if the Steelers should pay that, okay? But you know what? What choice do you have? I mean, if it's really about the money, then you go get Aaron Rodgers. But if the money is not an issue, then you keep Russell Wilson because DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson have a history with one another, right? Now let's get to Buffalo, where Josh Allen got paid again. The Bills and Allen agreed to a 6-year, $330 million extension for the reigning league MVP. The deal includes $250 million guaranteed to Allen, making it the largest guaranteed total ever given to an NFL player, surpassing the $230 million the Browns guaranteed to quarterback Deshaun Watson a few years ago. The extension takes Allen from the 14th highest average quarterback salary to tied for second at $55 million a year. Only Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott has the highest average annual salary at $60 million a year, which is all you need to know to justify Josh Allen's money. How the hell is Dak Prescott getting paid more than him? How the hell is Dak Prescott still the highest paid quarterback in football in terms of league average per year? Because remember, 5-6 years, $330 million. That's an average of $55 million a year. Same as Trevor Lawrence, same as Joe Burrow. Okay, same as those guys, along with Jordan Love. But if you are Dak Prescott, you're at $60 million. The Dallas Cowboys, with 2 playoff victories in 10 years, is paying this brother $60 million annually. Largest salary in the NFL. But here's what I do like. Josh Allen, $250 million guaranteed. You the league MVP. You've been to a couple of AFC championship games. Guess what? You deserve that kind of paper, okay? It's the highest in the league. Shouldn't be Dak Prescott's $231 million guaranteed. I know Dak Prescott can play. I know he's no scrub. I'm not saying the brother doesn't deserve to get paid. I'm saying somebody who has achieved so little in the postseason shouldn't have more a higher annual salary or more guaranteed dollars than anybody else. So the fact that Josh Allen has now eclipsed him, I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that. Let me move on to Cleveland, because this is where things get a bit hilarious. Because, listen, when you think about Cleveland, and what has happened between them and Myles Garrett and the Browns, that is, after the team made him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Let me tell you this, y'all. You might recall that Garrett wanted out of Cleveland last month by saying, quote, I had to say this, show y'all this quote. I had to show y'all this quote. While I've loved calling Cleveland my home, my desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl, end quote. End quote. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That came to an end on Sunday when the Browns gave him a record 4-year extension for $123.5 million. The deal averages $40 million a year and includes a no-trade clause, by the way. Garrett previously mentioned that he did not want to endure another rebuild with the Browns, who are coming off a 3-14 season and hold the number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. Now, my man Dan Orlovsky on ESPN pointed out, look, they either got a quarterback coming in or they're going to use the number 2 pick or somebody like Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. So the future's bright. Either way you slice it. If you had gone out and got Sam Darnold, that ain't the answer. If you had brought in an agent, Aaron Rodgers, that ain't the answer. If you draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, that's not the immediate answer, which makes Myles Garrett's position kind of phony. Now, I ain't hating on the brother. He deserves every penny. He deserves every penny. The brother's no joke. Double-digit sacks every year since 2018. Only 2 playoff appearances and 1 playoff victory in 8 seasons. I get that part. But he's an absolute stud. He's arguably the best defensive player in football. The brother is sensational. There's no, he's a mammoth of a man. No shade on him whatsoever. I'm just throwing shade on this quote about, I didn't come to the NFL to get to Canton. I came to compete for and win a Super Bowl. Can't do that with 2 playoff appearances in 8 years. Do y'all know that the Cleveland Browns have never played in the Super Bowl? Do you know they haven't been in an AFC Championship game since 1989? They haven't been in an AFC Championship game in 36 years. It's 1989. That's 36 years ago. And this brother is talking about, it's not about Canton. It's about competing for and playing in the Super Bowl. But you resign. You see what money does to people? See what money does? It makes the most excruciating situations seem easier to stomach. And in the case of Myles Garrett, that's a big stomach he'll need to have. He's got a lot of money to spend on food. You feel me? Way to go, bro. I ain't mad at you. Get your paper. Just say so next time, instead of the whole song and dance about competing for the Super Bowl. Right? Thank you. Coming up, the Thunder are rolling in the Western Conference and the Cavaliers are running away in the East. But which matchup would you want to see in the NBA Finals? We'll get into all of that. Me and my nephew Josh, he's coming in the house. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. By the way, I know Sam Darnold went to Seattle. I know Justin Fields went to the Jets. I don't care. That's why I didn't talk about that. But I care about my NBA basketball, especially since my nephew Josh is in the house. Hopefully he won't get on my damn nerves. Back with him to close out the show in a minute. What's up, everybody? Stephen A. Smith here. Recently, we made news because the great Bill O'Reilly announced a tour that's coming nearest you in the very, very near future. Get your tickets now for this. It's called 3 Americans, live March 30th at Live Nation's Flag Star at the Westbury Music Fair on Long Island. Don't miss the very first show as myself, Chris Cuomo, and yes, that man, Bill O'Reilly, take our different ideas, our different backgrounds, our different beliefs across the country to demonstrate that respectful, meaningful, and even fun conversation. Those are the things that make America as great as it should be. The show will be spirited, unscripted, and all 3 of us will let it fly as we discuss the topics everyone is thinking about these days. There'll also be questions from the audience. We're not running. Tickets are officially on sale now with pre-sale code USA at 3americanslive.com. VIP packages are available with the opportunity to meet and take photos with myself and both those fellas. That's 3 Americans live March 30th at the Westbury Music Fair on Long Island. Additional dates and cities to be announced. Don't miss it. Trust me, you'll get a kick out of it. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. The NBA playoffs get underway next month, and I want to look ahead to the finals, okay? But before I do that, if you listen to him, he'll tell you the world has been calling for him. The world has missed him. Everybody's got to see him. Nephew Josh is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, man? How you doing, bro? What's going on?
I'm great. Friday, I had a bad day. I mean, I got fired. I got fired on Friday.
You got fired?
Yeah.
What do you mean you got fired?
Well, I went to work.
What'd you do?
I went to work. I was drinking on the job, celebrating my my contract. And how much you get? 5 years, $50 million?
No.
Was it 5 years, $50 million? Because I know you don't think the whole $100 million is yours.
First of all, only a fool discusses their money.
Oh, it's out there.
Secondly, it ain't nearly as it ain't as much as the reports say. Number
I know, 'cause
two,
I got
here's
half.
my question. Here's my question. No, you don't have half. What the hell? You ain't my wife. I ain't married you. We ain't getting divorced. You ain't getting half. Who the hell told you that? That's number one.
I'm not your wife.
What?
You meet your wife when you're an adult. We've been together since. I'm sandbox over here. Now, what were you saying?
What the hell kind of hat you have on? Don't ask me for nothing.
Oh, no, I gotta
what do you have for? What do you have for people to ask you for anything? What do you have?
First of all, Friday, your nephew Jace came and woke me up talking about we rich. I'm like, we? I know me and your uncle rich, but why you saying that? He the one that let me know that we signed the contract. It's crazy. I'll find out from a 12-year-old.
So let me ask you. So let me ask you this question because I'm curious, bro.
What's up?
How is it that you're my nephew? I want you to explain this logic to me. Yeah. How is it that you're my nephew and you think because I have a little something, you automatically have something, but when it comes to your own son, you saying what you talking about? You don't have. So in other words, your uncle has an obligation to you, but you don't have an obligation to your own son. Explain that logic.
Because my son spends most of his time with his mother. I be with you, making sure you right. You see me, I got here today on time. You always say when I'm late, let the world know I was early today. Ain't around.
You on time. You on time for a change. I give that to you. But back to my point, he's still your son.
I mean,
and when you're not with them, it's supposedly because you're working, right? So since you out there working, because you do know you're supposed to be responsible and take care of your responsibilities, since you out there working, that's your son. Therefore, you have more of an obligation to him than I do to you.
Griff, cut to the pitches because I don't think he's understanding where I'm coming from. I've been around since day one. Look at me. That's me. Last time I graduated, by the way, but it don't matter. Yep, that's us. That's when you had a little hair, just a little forward. Look, don't nobody got these pics but me. Show him another one. Let me see smooth Stephen A. Look at Steve. Nas hairline. Look, I'm raising your value. They don't know you got this type of stuff. All white, slick. I was there for that.
I'm gonna kill you.
Don't kill me.
I'm going to kill you.
Okay.
You're gonna.
They don't have nothing but bad pictures of you at that barbecue. You back now.
You understand what I'm going to do to? Oh,
Look at Stevie. You're a human being. People don't think you got kid pictures. I'm here now. When you go to Gil's Arena and stuff like that, they need to know you was a kid at one point. People don't think you're a human being. Pushing 60.
They don't think I'm a human being because I got a little nephew that's talking about robbing me all the damn time, taking half my stuff like he's my wife. You understand that? That's the problem that I have more so than anything like that. I can't believe you found those damn pictures. I'm going to kill you. I swear to you, when I get back home, you're gonna disappear. The world is gonna be acting. Where is nephew Josh? You gonna be buried someplace when I get through with your ass. Ooh, I'm gonna get you. For
It's
this.
a lot more pics in the cut, and they're gonna get released if I go missing. I watch Power, and I set my scene. So what we talking about today? I got my notes.
And you set your scene. You set your scene.
Yeah.
You set your scene. By the way, as an aside, before we get into the finals, yo, bro, I was watching Raising Canaan season premiere Friday night.
Yeah.
I'm for it. I'm for it. I'm telling you that right now. I like what I see. Do you like that?
Oh, yeah, Raising Canaan is probably my second favorite after a regular Power. Raising
To who?
Canaan,
That raise it. All right, so we got something in common. But see, I like regular Power, and then I like Ghost with Tyreek, right? That Force with Tommy is good too. You know, I personally think they should be, and I've been telling them this. I personally think they should come out with a political show with Lorenz Tate as the star of the show, as the bad guy, because I think him and Power doing his thing, I think he's phenomenal, and I think that he should have his own series. What do you think about that?
I thought so too. Ahead of the Force, I didn't really. Tommy's good, but I need Tommy with somebody else. Lorenz Tate is an A1 actor, and that would definitely work.
Okay,
Definitely.
So you need him with someone else. I like those brothers he's with, though. I like those brothers, but let me tell you this, though. That Latina he's got, Tommy and Force, that she's nice. She's nice. I gotta give credit where credit's due. Let me move on. I got some NBA stuff that I was thinking about this over the weekend, and I said, let me ask Josh about this because I know he watches basketball a little bit. I gotta ask this question. I'm giving you 4 options, right? You can take ratings. You could take basketball. So we're going to categorize them as the best basketball matchup and the best ratings matchup, right? You can put them in any categories you want. Lakers versus Boston finals. Lakers versus Cleveland finals. Boston versus OKC. Or Cleveland versus OKC. Give me 1 through 4, your best, your favorite, to your least favorite.
Well, number 1 would be Boston OKC, and I'm gonna tell you why. I want to see Jason Tatum kind of dominate the playoffs all over again because of how he was treated in the Olympics. And I also want to see the forward on Serbia that had outmatched him so bad that he couldn't play 1 second in the Olympic game. I think that he's on a path to destruction as far as the league, and he's being disrespected all year. Y'all even have segments of how and why he's disrespected. It's time for him to come out and show that he could be the face of the league.
So you're saying the number 1 finals matchup you want to see is Boston versus OKC?
Yeah.
Okay, what's number 2?
Number 2 is not anybody that you had in there because I feel like you're forgetting about Steph Curry. Why isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think Golden State going to the finals.
You don't think so? Now,
I don't think they got the horses.
Okay, well, Steph Curry has gotten Harrison Barnes a championship as a small forward. Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant. But Andrew Wiggins, champion. And now he got Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
I done seen Jimmy Butler go with Tyler Herro and Kyle Lowry. Now he got Steph Curry. You don't think they're going to put a run together?
No. I'm not saying they're not going to put a run together. I'm saying that I don't think it's going to get them to the finals. Who you got next after that?
Cleveland and the Lakers. We all know why. Storyline stuff. You know what I'm saying?
LeBron returning to Cleveland. Okay. And what you got is 4?
4 OKC and against Donovan Mitchell and them. I would like to see Shea against Donovan Mitchell. That's must-see TV. That's a must-see matchup.
Okay. Let me tell you why. I'm going to give you my order right now, right? I'm going to tell you why. First of all, when you think about OKC versus Cleveland, that's the best game of the regular season this year, thus far. When OKC went to Cleveland and Cleveland beat them. It was the best game of the season. That was a thriller, right? But I would tell you what I want right now. Cleveland versus LA. LeBron returning to Cleveland to try to knock them off and prevent them from capturing the championship. I think that would be huge ratings. All right. So I would want that. That's number one. I'm going to go with Boston, LA. Number two, because that's just epic, yo. That's just epic. That's you not knowing your history. 18 championships for Boston, 17 for the Los Angeles Lakers. The two of them combined have captured 35 championships. That's 45% of the 78 championships that have been won in NBA history. See, you don't know this stuff, you young whippersnapper. This is why I'm here for you, okay? So that would be number 2 on the list. Number 3 on the list would be OKC versus Cleveland because of what we saw during the regular season. All right? Mm-hmm. And last would be OKC versus Boston.
That's the
but
last
I think
one
those last two will both be. That would be the last of the 4. That'd be the last of the 4.
You got the,
all right?
You got the
that's
Lakers.
That's where I'm coming from with it.
You got the Lakers at the top of your list twice. Yeah.
So what do you mean top of my list?
You would rather see the Lakers in the finals. You just mentioned that two times, right?
Josh. Where do I want to be in June?
Where did you what?
Where do I want to be in June?
In LA. We all know that. Why are you basing what we got to watch off where you want to be? We got 100 million. We can go to LA after.
We don't have that. We don't have that. And the bottom line is that we got to go where the action is. So the point is, wherever the games are is where I have to be, at least this year. Now, next year, you understand, I may not be on the NBA like that because, we got Chuck and Shaq and them coming to ESPN and stuff like that. So I ain't got to go to the finals like that. So I don't have to be there like that. Don't bother me. You understand? They want me there. They want me there. They don't. I'm good. Yeah. But I'm just telling you, this right now, I got to be there this year. Because I'm covering the finals for ABC. So, of course, I'm going to think about my life, man. If I don't have to travel to Oklahoma City, why would I want to do that? Why do I want to do that?
Well,
I ain't even no direct flights there.
Well, since you put
I might have to fly into Dallas and drive 3 hours.
Since you put it that way, I want to see the Lakers in the finals too, because we will be there.
You coming to the finals?
Yeah.
So why don't you tell the audience it doesn't happen unless I give you permission to go? Because you are the nephew and I am the uncle. Why don't you tell the audience that?
Oh no, I got Genie Bus on Instagram, and now I got a blue check, so I be DMing celebrities and stuff like that, and they be answering. So you in trouble.
You know what? I would slap you upside your head for lying and playing around if I didn't run into a couple of celebrities here in LA just the other day that said you had spoken to them. Yeah. You have been speaking to them.
I know.
What's wrong with you?
On March 19th, I bought a whole row at Glorilla's concert at the Hammerstein Ballroom with the company card. So when you see it on the invoice, don't text me about it. I told you ahead of time. You can come too. It's 8 tickets.
I'm gonna fire your ass. You keep trying to spend my money. I'm telling you that right now.
You can't un-nephew me. Spawn the Gills Arena.
That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Go ahead. Say the last word. Hurry up.
I have one more thing to touch on. So you're not going to bring me with you on Gills Arena, but I do want them to know they were all basketball players. So when they was on their interview to be drafted by a team, that energy that they had during the interview, when you drop the street and you 100% corporate because you're trying to get somebody's money, that's what you do. You do it all the time. You do it 24/7. You live like you're on an interview. So when they call you, whatever they call you, when they question your blackness and stuff like that, I'm here to bring it back because if you have any question, as you can see, I'm as black as they come and as black as it gets. We from the same house, and if anybody has a problem with you, they have a problem with me.
My little nephew coming. Hold on a second here. Did I just hear my little nephew try to speak up for me?
I was going to grab some tissue, but it ain't nothing but money stacks here. But I'm not going to expose us like that. You got a cup there?
I gotta
You
go.
want toast?
Goodbye, y'all. Goodbye, y'all. That's it for this edition of Stephen A. Smith Show. Talk to y'all in a couple of days.